Good morning. Welcome to the home of Calgary Unitarians. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey of faith or search for meaning, you are truly welcome. If you are visiting us for the first time or for the first time in a long while, know that we are grateful to have you with us. We come together in beloved community to grow in wisdom, welcome and deepen relationships, and act for a just and sustainable world. My name is Conrad Ayasi, and I use the pronouns he, his, and him, and I have the privilege of serving on our Board of Trustees. This congregation is special to me because I can be with people who share my values, and so here I feel very much at home. Now, wherever you are, let us remember and acknowledge the traditional territories and languages of all the people whose ancestors were here before us. We recognize our responsibility to be stewards of this land and acknowledge that we do so with the cooperation of the people of the Blackfoot Confederacy, for whom the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta is their traditional territory. The people of the Blackfoot Confederacy are comprised of the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Dene First Nation band Tsuut'ina and the Stoney Nakoda First Nation, which comprises three bands, the Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Wesley bands. Mohkinstsis, the Blackfoot word for what is now known as the city of Calgary, is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. In offering a land acknowledgement, we honor those who have long been stewards and accept the shared responsibility we have with them for being good caretakers. We acknowledge that Treaty 7, signed in September 22, 1877, was entered into as a collaboration between settlers and the indigenous peoples, making us all treaty people. And now, over to Kathy Welburn for the lighting of the chalice.
And in the words of our very own Deborah Falk, a chalice in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundation of freedom, reason, and tolerance, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that visions a world flourishing with equality for all of her people, a faith that demands the living out of goodness, and that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness. This tiny flame is the symbol of the spark of all of this within each of us.
Thank you, Kathy. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you here. It's good to see a room full of chairs, knowing that we have so many people who are joining us in worship this morning. And we have folks joining us in Wickenden Hall who are using our comfort and safety zone over there, and people on Zoom joining us because they love coming to church in their jammies and they don't like commuting in the cold. We have so many wonderful ways to gather, and it is such a joy to be together. As this is the beginning of March, we're beginning a new theme for worship and small group ministry, and our theme this month is Renewing Faith. Renewing faith makes me think of spring and renewal and how we're just waiting for those little purple flower, the little crocuses to come up any minute now, aren't we? We're also honoring International Women's Day, which is Tuesday, March 8th. This is a tradition that's been around for over 100 years, and it's celebrated around the world, and the signature color is purple. So if you didn't wear purple today, you can remember to wear some on Tuesday. We so appreciate you being with us here and sharing your presence, your warmth, your light, and your gifts with us. Our gathering in its entirety, online, far away, nearby, and in this room. Our gathering is made sacred by your presence. my dear ones, now more than ever is the time for the healing power of community, for the soul-saving connections and comforts of being a beloved community together. Let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, Freedom is Coming.
Freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom. Oh yes, I know. Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Yes, oh yes, I know. Yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Yes, oh yes, I know. Yes, oh yes, I know. Yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Freedom, freedom, oh freedom, freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming. Oh yes, I know. Oh freedom, freedom, oh freedom, freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Yes, oh yes, I know. Yes, oh yes, I know. Yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Yes, oh yes, I know. Yes, oh yes, I know. Yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Freedom, freedom, oh freedom, freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming. Oh yes, I know. Freedom, freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Oh.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It is so good to see all of you. I'm Sheila McMaster, Director of Religious Education. My pronouns are she and her. And I'm so excited to see all of you in the building. And I'm even more excited because today we're having youth in the building for the first time in 2 years. Woo! So we're going to be meeting 12 to 1 today and downstairs, and we're going to be having a great time. So I'm excited about that. And we actually have our children's classes coming back in a couple weeks, March 27th. So we'll have basically our full programs back. So that's very exciting, something to look forward to. And some of you may already know Jacob Dowling. He's our elementary class lead who's been with us for a few years. And he's going to make a special guest appearance later in the service to talk about a group that is special in his heart, Permeate. That's our For Others today for this month. So you want to stick around and check that out and, wave hello to Jacob. He'll be live. So that's really great. And as Reverend Shelley was saying, Tuesday is International Women's Day, but today we're kind of getting a head start on the celebrations. And I have worn my purple shawl that was made for me by our caring team. So this is a great reason to put it on. And I have to say it's super cozy. So for all those knitters out there who made it for me, thank you. I'm just loving it. It's a good day to wear it. And on our children and youth newsletter, we have coloring pages for International Women's Day, and we have 16 different ways that families can celebrate. So you'll want to check that out. And you might be wondering, what do we have today for all of us? And I have a special story called Rosie Revere Engineer, and it was actually read in outer space. Yes, it was read on the International Space Station by astronaut Kate Rubin. So that's very exciting. Here we go. Rosie Revere Engineer. And it's written by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David, 'David' 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 ' This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she'd not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head. From parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud, but Fred slapped his knee and chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, I truly do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She struck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt Rose was a true dynamo who worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. "The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams." That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky and some hold on tight. And this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch and the helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, "Oh no, never, not again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever or switch or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer." She turned round to leave, but then great-great-aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. "You did it, hooray, it's the perfect first try. This great flop is over, it's time for the next." And young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. "I failed," said dear Rosie. "It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed." "Yes," said her great aunt, "it crashed, that is true, but first it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew." "Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next." And she handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her scarf round Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 built gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. I think that's a
Rose.
Thank you, Reverend Shelley. I think that's a wonderful story to remind us to embrace each perfect failure that we have, because it's only the beginning. Here's the strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. And now to stewardship for a very fun video.
Open the door, step right inside. Come into this place where love and hope will abide. Reach out your hand, I'll welcome you in. It's so good to be together.
I connect with our community by singing together with like-minded people.
I connect to community to worship together, to reflect, to sing, to share, and to find hope and love.
I connect with community through our commitment to social justice. I am proud to be here where we have green sanctuary activities, where we participate in Pride, where we sponsor refugees, and I am proud that we have an alliance with the Calgary Alliance for the Common Good to work for social justice.
I connect with our community by learning together, learning about a spirituality that fits my values, learning how to cope with grief from losing a life partner, learning how to work towards a more equitable and livable city by partnering with the city's network of like-minded faith organizations, stronger together.
I connect with community over coffee after our Sunday services. I can have conversations with friends and with new people that I would like to get to know better. That's what I'm looking forward to doing soon.
I connect with our worldwide community by attending gatherings and meeting and working with people, Unitarians from across Canada and around the world.
I connect with community by helping support us in times of joy and times of sorrow. Our lay chaplains in our congregation have a major role in this support. In past years, I was privileged to have that role. We always have 2 lay chaplains in our congregation to help support us all through times of joy and sorrow. We connect in these and many other ways in an interconnected web. This web connects us with each other and connects us with the world. And then we are stronger together. Please join us in this year's pledge campaign.
Open the door, step right inside. Come into this place where love and hope will abide. Reach out your hand, I'll welcome you in. It's so good to be together again.
That song. Fabulous. Our stewardship team is working so hard to get our pledge campaign up and running, and we're going to be hearing more from them, and we definitely want to give them our full support. We can all give ringing endorsements, I think, about how loving and wonderful this community is. They love to hear that from us, too. Now is the time when we share our joys and concerns with one another, our celebrations, our sorrows, the things that are just too important not to be shared. And again, I want to share with you the words of my dear friend, Anand Soto. I know sometimes you get cranky, and sometimes your tea gets cold before you can drink it. Sometimes the news is too much. The resistance seems too little. That's real. But we are here, imperfect and together and reaching. You can hold my hand if you want. I washed it with soap. It's okay. In this kind of time, now's better than later. Now, I love you. Now, I am sorry this hurts. Now, I witness your struggle and mine. Sometimes one answer is to be a yes in the face of every no. I am a yes for you, now and again later, if you need me. I want to thank Loretta Biazuti for sharing with us. We hold in our hearts the family of the very Reverend Dr. Bill Phipps, who died last Friday morning. Bill was a previous recipient of our William Irvine Justice Award and sometimes guest minister here. As a former moderator of the United Church of Canada and well known in Calgary and across Canada for his passionate advocacy for social and environmental justice. Our love to Bill and all of his beloveds in this time of sorrow. We continue to send our love and our blessings to our beloved Jane and her dear Cora. Jane has shared with us that she's learning all about the wonderful world of mobility devices. She has a cane with an ice pick and a wheelchair that fits in the back of the car, and she has a walker that has a seat on it when she gets tired, and she's making the most of everything at her disposal to stay stronger and to heal and to help her and Cora navigate, literally, this time of trial. She is never far from my thoughts. We love them. We honor today all the women and girls who've been the victims of abuse, of assault and murder, exploitation, and all forms of violence against women. And I lift up what we hope is joy and coming together again in more ways, in the opening up, the opportunities to connect, the opportunities to gather once again in beloved community. Let us hold in our hearts and minds how precious that really is now that we know what it's like to do without. Please make use of it. Please reach out to one another. Go for walks, go for coffee. Just sit in the park and enjoy some spring sunshine. Revel in the connection and the presence of your beloveds. I light 3 candles, one for all the joys and celebrations, spoken and unspoken. One for the sorrows, the grief, and the cares. And one global candle, for we know that we are not the only ones who are struggling right now with the state of things. We pray for Ukraine. We pray for Afghanistan. We pray for all of the places where the absence of nurturing, the absence of love, the absence of some of those more feminine values is causing so much pain and suffering. Now I invite you as we sing together. I am sending you light. If you'd like to come up and light a candle or add a pebble to the water, those pebbles are wonderful to hold in your hand and then release whatever it is that you want us to help you carry right into that water. And that water becomes blessed by your sharing. Now please join us in singing. You may rise in body and spirit if you are wanting to, or you may stay seated. Feel free to share with us your joys and sorrows.
to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. No matter where you go, no matter where you've been, you'll never walk alone. I feel it deep within, and I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you and hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. No matter what you feel or what you choose to show, I'm always there for you, and so I want you to know that I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold.
As long as people have been fighting for equal rights for everyone, women have been advocating. Mary Wollstonecraft in 1792 was responding to the new constitutions that were being drawn up for the equal rights of men. Consider this when your constitution is revised. The rights of women may be respected, as it is fully proved that reason calls for this respect and loudly demands justice for 1/2 of the human race. More than half, actually. 52%. Survivorship by the Reverend Nina Soto. What it takes to survive is more than an emergency blanket, a fire starter, and a hatchet. It requires saying your name over and over, but only for your own benefit and glory, for finding your own route to the earth beneath you and sky everywhere, for illuminating horizons when you're not sure if you'll ever recover, ever grow. Outliving intentional harm requires a single ember banked in your wheezing, dizzy heart. And if you find that that tiny fire smothered by smug patriarchy, shrugging off the work of stained hands and starched cuffs, please, friend, please do not despair. We here share the light of our belonging with and to one another. The work of outliving evil cannot be completed in a moment. Recognize and remember who you will yet become. We will share our spark with you. We will say your name with honor and know you as healing and free.
Thank you, Kathy. Women, we are a big yes, a great big yes to all that we are. We are whole and holy. We are intelligent and compassionate. We are powerful and kind. We are capable and gentle. We are strong and soft. We are intelligent and caring. We are wise and we are witty. We are creative and organized. We move under our own steam and we are team players. We're the mothers, we're the daughters, the sisters, the wives, the grandmothers, the girlfriends, the young girls, the women, and the sage crones. We are women. We hold up half the sky. Today, I am going to start with some important definitions and perspective from Bell Hooks, our beloved Bell Hooks, her excellent essay entitled Understanding Patriarchy. She says, I often use the phrase imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. It's not funny, right? It's true. She says people laugh, and she feels like that is the patriarchy asserting its control. No, this is true. It's imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy to describe the interlocking political systems that are the foundation of our politics. Of these systems, the one that we all learn the most about growing up is the system of patriarchy, even if we never know the word, because patriarchal gender roles are assigned to us as children, and we're given continual guidance about the ways we can best fulfill these roles. Patriarchy is a political social system that insists that males are inherently dominating, superior to everything and everyone deemed weak, especially females, and endowed with the right to dominate and rule over the weak, and to maintain that dominance through various forms of psychological terrorism and violence. She says, despite contemporary visionary feminist thinking that makes it clear that a patriarchal thinker need not be a male, most folks continue to see men as the problem of the patriarchy. Big mistake. That's not true. Simply not the case. Women can be as wedded to patriarchal thinking and action as men. It's the water we all swim in, isn't it? Patriarchal thinking shapes the values of our culture. We're socialized into this system, females as well as males, people of all genders. Most of us learned patriarchal attitudes in our family of origin, and they were usually taught to us by our mothers. Did anyone ever hear, wait till your father gets home? Right? Things like this. These attitudes were reinforced in school and in religious institutions. She has a passage where she talks about how God is a male and how that can be problematic in so many ways. She says men do oppress women. People are hurt by rigid, sexist role patterns. The two realities coexist, that men oppress women, and it's also a structure of oppression that oppresses men too, even though they benefit more than women do or other genders do from the system. Male oppression of women cannot be excused by the recognition that there are ways men are hurt by the rigid sexist roles. Feminist activists should acknowledge that hurt and work to change it. It exists. It does not erase or lessen male responsibility for supporting and perpetuating their power under patriarchy, to exploit and oppress women in a manner far more grievous than the serious psychological stress and emotional pain caused by male conformity to rigid sexist role patterns. This is one of those yes and. We're all stuck in the system. It harms everyone. And that does not negate the fact that it's a power over system, and we need to be paying attention to those who are oppressed. We need to highlight the role women play in perpetuating and sustaining patriarchal culture so that we will recognize patriarchy as a system men and women and all genders support equally, even if men receive more rewards from that system. Dismantling and changing patriarchal culture is work that all genders must do together. End quote. It's a beautiful article. It goes in depth on this, and she's very passionate about it. I've had people if I've used patriarchy in a sentence, men will start screaming at me that I called them a misogynist. This is not true. Patriarchy, the structural oppression, is not at all a slur aimed at men. Men are not the bad guys in this scenario. And in fact, just as the case with white supremacy culture, if the men, the people with the most power, don't help us dismantle it, it's not going to happen, right? We all have to work together. So I really hope you hear that, my brothers, that when we say it's International Women's Day, this is a celebration, a rising, a joining, not something that's in opposition to you and all of your gifts. We don't want anyone to feel shamed or to cringe at these words. We need to be able to speak the truth about our society in order to transform it. Well, the first time that I was introduced to all of this patriarchy malarkey was in 2001 during my Psychology of Consciousness class for my master's degree in counseling psychology. We read ecofeminist Riane Eisler's seminal work, The Chalice and the Blade. It was first published in 1987, and I read it really carefully, and suddenly, so much of my struggle to feel like I belonged in the world, was validated. Oh, yeah, that. Oh my God. I'm not crazy. I'm not too emotional. I'm not overly sensitive. I'm not too much. And I'm not good enough. According to Eisler, the relationship between males and females and the attitude toward masculine and feminine qualities of both sexes largely determines our cultural, social, and technological development for all of humanity. Eisler's cultural transformation theory states that there are two basic models for structuring human society: dominator and partnership. The dominator model ranks people, valuing some, devaluing others. In societies where the ranking and rulership of the dominator model is specifically male over female, the domination hierarchy is better described as androcracy, which means male ruled. Under an androcratic system, males and masculine values such as strength, violence, and control are ranked above feminine values, and females, feminine values such as nurturing, loving, and feeling. Androcracies are characterized by this male dominance and by war and authoritarianism. The hierarchy is maintained through force, coercion, brainwashing, or any and all means available. Basically, the might over right principle. Domination power is very different from actualization power. Domination power, power over. Actualization power is power with. And that actualization power is characteristic of the partnership model that values linking people. That word religion comes from the word religare, ligament, to connect. That's what we're doing here, right? We're connecting. She tells us that the partnership alternative can be more accurately conveyed by the term geilenny, which includes roots that represent both men and women, and linking them, implying a resolution of the hierarchical roles that divide them. Geilenny is therefore a type of actualization hierarchy. Wow, those are big words even for you use. Smart woman. This embodies a systematic progression toward higher levels of functioning and human flourishing. There's evidence of global efforts by both men and women, people of all genders, to promote understanding that sexual equality, development, and peace are human issues of importance to the survival of us all. By continuing to increase our consciousness and our awareness, we choose to re-educate ourselves in the more Gailanic ways of peace and partnership, and reprioritize our societies to emphasize equality, growth, healing, and the fulfillment of human potential. That's a summary of this very dense book, but I encourage you to work through it because it teaches us about paradigms. What is a paradigm? What influences are there on our culture? Why are things this way? And we have this saying among the ministry. One of the sentences we hate the most is, "We've always done it this way," right? No, there's no such thing. So she goes into the history of all humanity and where there have been goddess-worshiping societies that were peaceful, and someone came along and smushed them. So we don't hear much from them anymore, right? They're kind of quiet now. But it's a wonderful, wonderful work, and it's a great introduction to that kind of thinking that then I think really actualizes and empowers all of us to work together. This is that 8th principle stuff again, that we're working to address the systems that have us so stuck that no matter how hard we try, we just keep ending up back in the same place. Well, I tell you what, this paradigm shift stuff, this dominator patriarchy stuff, it really rocked my world. It revolutionized my self-concept and my understanding of my place on planet Earth. And it really taught me that I needed to change the narrative of myself, of my world, and of the way I wanted to operate in society. I wanted to break the bias. This is the theme for the International Women's Day this year. Break the bias, tear down these stereotypes. Stop saying to do things like a girl is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Break the bias. Smash the imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. I always picture a bag of potato chips when I do that. Just smash! Woo! You know what? I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story. When I wrote this summary of this book, one of the other assignments for consciousness studies is to do a self-reflection, an impact statement, if you will. And I'm going to share it with you, even though I wrote it back in 2001, it's still true. And you know, I want to share it not because it's about me, but because it's so not unique, so not uncommon at all. On many levels, this book brought up all kinds of new perceptions and realizations for me. My younger self said this: I value what I've learned about humanity, but what has most strongly impacted me personally is my new understanding of my history, my herstory, and the androcratic nature of my family structure. I was adopted by my family, the Thompsons, when I was 2 years old. Up until that time, I was living with a foster family whom I considered my family, didn't know any different. And when I went to live with the Thompsons just one day out of the blue, it's kind of how it was done back then, I was really resistant to the change of family venue, especially the idea of having a new mom, which was her name for quite a long time. I just called her New Mom. And it also took me over 6 months before I would even allow my dad anywhere near me. We have pictures of me just giving him the side eye, like, oh, who are you? I don't like you. I warmed up to him eventually. But I was angry and I was hurt. And at this age, in a child's brain development, this is not good, this kind of disruption in attachment. And so we end up with something called reactive attachment disorder, where the children simply don't know what to do with the emotions, the instability, the lack of balance and safety that has rocked their little worlds. And usually the response comes out in anger in a lot of ways. So that was what was going on with me. And of course, my parents didn't know that. They didn't have PhDs in psychology. What did they know? Their pediatrician told them, just love the child, everything will be fine. They used to bribe me with candy if I would not bite the other children at Sunday school. I've come a long way. So, you know, my parents really did their best. They tried really hard. But as this trauma response continued, and that's a trauma response, the body is conditioned, and it doesn't have a clock. It doesn't know that that was a long time ago. The trauma response continues to be triggered until we're able to work with it and heal it. We didn't know how to do that. My emotional difficulties were a frequent source of turmoil in our family. My mom suffered quietly because she was usually the brunt of my aggression. She was the closest object to hit or to yell at or to degrade in some way. And part of that dynamic is the sense of, how can I love the new mom without betraying the old one? Terrible dynamic for a child. But my mom, on some level, understood my pain and suffered in silence for the most part. But my dad, oh no, he was mad at my bad behavior. He used threats, he used intimidation. On a couple of occasions, he even slapped me across the face to try to make me shape up and control myself. He could not understand why I couldn't just use my significant intelligence. Aren't you smart enough to know better? Aren't you smarter than that? Smartness is valued, emotions are not. Anger, women are not supposed to be angry, right? He didn't know what to do with that. I had 2 older brothers. Everything he did worked fine on them. He did not know how to parent a daughter. And basically, he invalidated my emotional reality at every turn in this very power over, dominating way. And he would storm, and then he would stomp off. And my mother, Mom, hey, Mom, the other woman in the room, hey, solidarity, sister. Nope, we just got to wait him out, let him vent. Do not poke the bear. Do not try to reason with him. He will never apologize or be accountable. Don't even bother. He won't back down. You have to wait for him to calm down. Give you the silent treatment for a couple of days, and then you know what you do? Pretend it didn't happen. Pretend it didn't happen. Shh. The patriarchy is a big secret. People don't want to talk about this in families. Until we talk about the patriarchy, until we talk about these family systems, we're not going to get rid of them. Well, it seemed awfully unfair to me that he could be so emotional, but I wasn't allowed to. Well, through so many years of therapy, bless the therapists, bless the psychologists, bless our Western wisdom. We didn't have pills back then. I wish I had. Through all of that, and then, of course, 2 master's degrees, one in psychology and one in ministry, I've learned to be so much more compassionate and nurturing with myself. And I met Riane Eisler in her book, and I learned, oh, well, yeah, how come my dad wasn't equipped? Well, that's why he wasn't equipped. He was taught not to be equipped, in fact. So I've had to rewrite that narrative. And everywhere I go, I have to continue to live my truth. I am a woman. I am not part of the patriarchy by choice. I participate in it. I'm complicit. I'm doing what I can to smash it. But, the pain, the agony, the years of isolation that it has caused me, and the continual heartache. This has just been the fuel for my fire, my passion for justice and equity and compassion in this world. Look what's happening in the Ukraine. Totalitarian regime, dominator patriarchy, right there. That's what happens. And the more we rise up, the bigger the backlash gets. That's a predictable response from economic instability and an attempt at raising the consciousness and changing the systems. You get that kind of behavior from people like Putin. We have to unlearn this, and we have to do it differently. We just have to. For everyone's sake. There is just no sustainability in it. There is no peace in it. It will continue to defeat us over and over and over again until we join together and change it. That's what we're here to do, to hold each other in love, to lift each other up, to raise women's voices, to raise women's issues, to learn the ways of partnership in our community, to challenge these systems and these narratives, and to evangelize that as far and as wide as we can, everywhere we go. Speak up. Use our voices. Use our hearts, not our fists, not our tanks, not our bombs, but our love. Our love will truly transform this world. Amen. Ashe, may it be so. For our meditation today, I want to share with you the Break the Bias campaign for Women's Day. They have these wonderful selfie cards, and you can hold them up and take your picture and share them with the world. So during coffee hour, I'm going to bring these out. And I ask some of you, please come, hold up some signs with me, and we'll take pictures so that we can put them on our website and show people this is one of the things our community does together, right? We're going to break the bias together. And there are ones that say we, there's ones that say I. There's lots of good messages on them. There's even blank ones for you to tell us how you're going to do it. and because there's no end of good ideas about this. So it's a lot of fun. And for those of you online, they have these available on their website. I put that in the e-news, so you can go ahead and do that too. Send them to us, share them with us. And now we get to listen to Jane sing, and we can rise and body your spirit and sing, I Am Willing. Now is the time when we consider all the blessings and gifts that this community brings into our lives, how much it means to us, how transformative it is, and how needed we are in this world. This is the time when we make our offerings of treasure to go with all of our talents and our time to support this institution that supports us all. We ask that you please give generously, and your gifts are generously received. And today, we get to speak with Jacob Dowling, one of our young adults, who's going to tell us about our For Others campaign this month, which goes to permeate. Here's Jacob.
Thanks, Shelby. Yeah, I'm a part of Permeate Calgary. I'm also a youth religious instructor here at the Unitarian Church. I work very closely with Sheila, with the kids doing classes and playing games and things like that. Permeate Calgary is a social ecology organization and also a group of people who are very passionate about community gardens and developing food security and food sovereignty in Calgary. We've been kind of inactive for the past few years because of COVID. That has made organizing in person and even online significantly more difficult. But as things are opening up and as the weather is starting to warm up as well, we're starting to engage back in some of the projects that we've been doing. Most notably, we are putting in a permaculture ecosystem at the Calgary Centre for Spiritual Living. So we're developing a whole food forest that will provide food for that congregation and that community as well. Yeah, so that's a little bit about Permeate, that's a little bit about me, and a little bit about the things that we've been doing. Thank you so much for having me.
Those who don't know their UUs yet, but we'd love them to come join us. I want to introduce them to Conrad. Right? Put your heads together. Ooh, good things are going to happen. So here's our slide telling us all the many, many ways we can share our abundance with this community. And once again, we get to hear a little bit of Jane's fabulous piano. Thank you, Pam and Robert, for being our ushers this morning. We appreciate it. We're going to extinguish our chalice. I think it's almost out of oil. It's right on time. But of course, not the flame of warmth and comfort and love that is this beloved community that we take with us everywhere we go. And I opened up our wonderful gray hymnal. If y'all haven't spent time with your gray hymnals, they've got lots of good stuff in the back too, not just the songs. And they have some wonderful readings and words of wisdom for us. And side by side, there are two that come to us from the New Testament. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Wisdom from Romans 12. And 1 Corinthians 16 tells us, keep alert, hold firm in your faith, be courageous, be strong. Let all that you do be done in love. Great words. I'm going to share with you now that first we're going to sing our closing hymn, and then you're going to see on your Zoom screens, those of you at home, your coffee chat link So we're going to save that till the end, but it will appear. So please, if you are at home, feel free to join us in our virtual coffee room. And those of you here, we have actual coffee happening that Conrad made us. Yay, Conrad, the coffee man. Woo! And that's going to be in Wickenden. We hope you'll stick around and do some selfies with me. And now, won't you please join me, rise and body your spirit as you are able in singing, We Are.